morning, guys. Michael with his standalone run. We're at Big City Adventure Park this morning. I'm going to drive back in here. It's the first time that I have been by this way. This was on my list of to-dos because they've actually created a hiking system unpaved. That's why Julie's not with me, because we thought the dog would get a little bit too dirty. But they do have a track here and a football field. And so that's what I'm going to take you guys on today to see. I think we park this way? Oh, okay. Well, hang on here. I'm not sure what we're doing. Give me just a second. This might be an event. I don't know if I can run here or not. TBD. Hang on. Okay, so they are doing football tryouts today. I just found that out. However, it's not 9 o'clock, wait, let me start that over. They are doing football tryouts, but he asked if I was just here to run. I said yes, and he said, well, it doesn't start until 9 o'clock. So, I guess I'll go out and get a run in. That's only about an hour for me. So we'll, I guess we'll get a short run in. I want to talk about a couple of things, questions that some of the viewers had asked in the comments, and I also want to talk to you, probably more importantly, about my experience yesterday morning when we first got in the water with Scuba. So, yeah, I'm going to get out here and get going before these folks start. Yeah, I don't think this is going to work today. We've got kiddos setting up balloons and stuff. I'm going to take one lap around, walk and talk just for a second, but the traffic and the people are just increasing, and it's almost 8 o'clock. So if we start at 9, it's going to be an effort and futility, I think. But shoot, I don't really know what to do now. You know, we've got a noon dive time. We were deliberately sleeping in a little bit today with the original idea of having Abs and Abra coming with us, and me running here, which is a great track. This is a nice track, and then her and Abra hiking. We thought there were more paved areas than there were, so there's not. So anyway, yeah, I believe with all the setup and the kiddos on the track, this is not gonna work. So we might just run in the neighborhood. I just thought I would show you guys, and then I don't know, we'll get a run in somehow, I guess. Maybe we can come back tomorrow and try it. I'm not sure. Sports might be happening both days of the weekend. I think we can get started now. Let's go try. Alright, calves are a little sore today. That's because they cramped up on me yesterday when I got to the top of the water one time. Oh, it wasn't a failure, but it wasn't the best dive I ever had either. But let's go through some questions, because I don't know how long I'm going to get to run this morning, considering it's already 8:30 and I'm just now getting started. We have about a 40-minute drive to Devil's Den today. Sinkhole, by the way. It's going to be much darker than yesterday. Apparently we're going to be swimming in a large circle, and we might go through some tunnels. I'm not sure. Okay, so that's later. For now, I think we might have to make just a big square to get us a run in. Okay, three questions. One was asking about Airbnb. How do we go through and pick the right Airbnb? There's no simple answer to that. The simple answer is you kind of get better, I guess, at playing the game of roulette, but that's really what it is. is a roulette, because you quickly learn people can make photos look like anything. Lighting everywhere. Things that were taken years old and are now much older, or they were functioning and they're not, but they don't disclose that until you get there. Like, there's little nuances that you'll never be able to get up and over and say, oh, this is the plan I should follow. It doesn't work that way. What you do is you try to familiarize yourself with where you're going first. This is where ChatGPT can come into hand, because he can tell you neighborhoods to avoid. You tell him you'd like to be closer to ABZ, and he'll tell you, oh, we'll look for this. Look for something off of this road. Or, here's a neighborhood. He'll tell you if they offer or they don't offer Airbnbs. Because in Florida, that's a very, very common thing. Each individual municipality tells you whether or not they allow short-term rentals and Airbnbs. So you have to look through those things well before you get onto Airbnb's site. And then Airbnb is good about allowing you to pick what you want and what you don't want for amenities. Not just a bedroom, a bath, and beds. It actually has them broken down into that. A bedroom, a bath, and beds. Because, you know, someone can put in an air mattress, someone can have a pull-out couch. So yeah, it just they're very good about that. So you put in what you're looking for and see if something pops up. For us specifically, it gets even more complicated than that, because then it is, I need to look for a bath for Jules because of her back. I need to look for a king-size bed because Abra becomes a Great Dane in the middle of the night. And then I'll look to see, is there a grill? Okay, if there's not a grill, what does the kitchen look like? Can we cook in there? But even doing that, and I will not pull the trigger in the first 24 hours. Never. I save the ones that look attractive. Give myself an overnight. I won't say 24 hours, but overnight. Come back to them. Review them again. Look at the price. Compare the price. You can't see specific location, but general vicinity, and then go from there. And even still, we've gotten into properties and looked around at one another and said, they lied. Okay, so what happens at that point? You go through the whole ordeal of trying to cancel with Airbnb, or you start doing the wagering system. Well, can we do this? Can we accept that? Well, I know it says this, but the last place is a prime example. The last place said that it had a king-size bed and a dishwasher. We open up the dishwasher, someone has taken a notebook piece of paper and written, sorry, dishwasher's broken. Okay, well, why haven't you brought someone out to fix it? You know, again, these are little things. You're advertising. We have a king-size bed. No,
You didn't. You had a king-size bed frame in the closet, but not a mattress. You had a queen. So those things, you have to start deciding what's an acceptable amount of crap you're willing to put up with, or lies you're willing to put up with to book. Just past 1 mile, so I'll start the second question. Second question was, talk to me about the chips that you guys were referencing the other day. And so what I'll say is, for me, you have to divide them into two. Do you want a potato or do you not want a potato? Because that matters. If you want a potato, your best chips are going to be a company called Boulder, like Boulder, Colorado. Boulder. They make potato chips that are just potato, sea salt, and cooked in avocado oil. That's going to be your safest, best tasting chip. If you want to go non-potato chip, so maybe like something the equivalent to a dip chip for salsa, so a tortilla chip, let's say. Siete is going to be the brand. Now that's right now. I say that because they were bought by Pepsi Cola a few months ago. You never know when it stopped being a family business what might wiggle its way in to the ingredients so that they can lower their cost of manufacturing. But right now, Siete is the best. So it's spelled just like the number 6 is in Spanish. That's what it's actually from. Is a family of 6 whose daughter had severe food and gut allergies. They decided to start making products to address that. Everything they make is clean. Taco seasoning, their salsa, their sauces, their chips. They use cassava instead of flour, instead of potato, and they use coconut sugar whenever they're going to use sugar in something. So that is a brand we have found and love. When we are stable in a place, because right now we're just popping around for a week at a time. When we're stable, I typically buy a couple sauces, some seasoning packets, and chips. Right now though, like I said, I don't want to take that from place to place, so I don't. That is your 2 best choices. If you were a person who was doing Whole30 a few years ago told you the only brand you could eat was Cape Cod. Do not eat those. They use vegetable oils. They use maltodextrin. They use different starches. Boulder for your potato chip. Siete for your non-potato chip. Okay, almost at halfway. So I thought I would address the last question and then spend the second half talking about the dive experience. Whew. Come Down by Bush is playing in my right ear. 16 Stone, one of the greatest albums ever created. So last question is, tell us about the books you're reading. I thought, okay, I can do that. because I'm reading 2, listening to 1. So we can talk about all of that. That's not a problem at all. If you don't know, I had to buy a print book, which is not me. I carry a Kindle for many, many reasons. One, because how quickly I go through books. Traveling and working remote is not conducive to building a library. I had done that once, ended up selling all the books on Amazon back when Amazon was just a book repository. So, an old horror book, House of Leaves, reading in print because it is not a Kindle book because of the way it's made. I told the vlog the other day, it's kind of set out around the time of the Blair Witch, so everything is supposed to be real as far as a real account, even the foreword in the book. So it's good. I'm just really hoping it doesn't turn out to be something that I say, I liked it, but I would have liked it better in, 99 or 2000, because it's been overdone today. Not quite there yet to tell you that conclusively, but that is a concern. Electronically, on the Kindle, I'm finishing up a book from my favorite Irish author. Did I say Arthur? Author. His name is John Connolly. John Connolly writes the Charlie Parker series. There's like 32 books, I think, in this. I picked it up very late with The Woman in the Woods several years ago. But I love his writing style. It is a nice blend of detective novel, murder mystery, and horror, specifically religious. So he talks about artifacts, he talks about Vatican stuff. So it's kind of like you took a John Sanford, a Dan Brown, a Stephen King, and you molded it into one book. Very, very good. Children of Eve is what I'm reading right now, and then listening. Spooky season's here, so I re-listened for about the 15th time to The Stand by Stephen King. It's one of the very first books I ever had in the Audible library, and if it was a paperback, it would be torn and frayed, and anybody that knows me knows that's only as a last resort. I try to keep my books, print books, in as pristine condition and the spine as pristine as I can. But I've listened to this one so many times. But anyway, I finished that a couple nights ago and started a new Brandon Sanderson, new to me, not new to publishing, but a new series called Mistborn. I'm listening to the first book of that. It's a good book. It's good so far. I really like how he writes. So, just rolled over on 4 miles. I'm going to put in 8. I think time allows me to do that. And that was the 3 burning questions from the comments section. Whew. Let me catch my breath, and I'll talk to you about Scuba. Just crossed over 5. I want to say, if you ever have an Apple device and you want to do any activity with it, please never get Amazon Music. Amazon Music, which the reason I have right now is because it's free with the Prime membership. Worst. The worst. I've been running now for close to an hour. I've played 2 songs because of how crappy the music player is. Anyway, we just rolled over almost 5.5. So I guess I'm not, more like 50 minutes, not an hour yet. Okay, scuba. There are those of you, if you have been diving before, would say, Michael, you are a moron. Why are you running a couple of hours before scuba diving? With which I say to you, it's okay. I know my VO2 max. I'm over here trying to blow off all of the carbon dioxide that's been built up over the last 24 hours. That's the first thing. Second thing is, my list of priorities are as follows. Julie Abra, that's 1. Running is 2. Scuba is 3. So I would rather run and skip a scuba than I would to scuba and not run. So there you go. All right. Wasn't the greatest experience yesterday. That has everything to do with me and nothing to do with anyone or anybody, company that I was in the water with yesterday. It was a combination. I tried a new mask that I had not been fitted for, and new equipment that we had never used, a new brand of equipment. I had used all the equipment, but not this brand. And I quickly found out, 1, where the mask wasn't fitted, it leaked as soon as I dipped underwater. 2, my regulator was like sucking air through a straw. You never want your secondary to feel that way. You never want to have to pull, and that's what I was having to do. Now, Julie was too. The difference is, Julie has never had asthma. I was diagnosed after my first asthma attack when I was 7. So, even though I am 45.5 years old, as soon as I got underwater, that's what I was doing. Trying to take a breath. I go back to my 7-year-old self. There is nothing scarier on this earth, and I mean nothing, than not knowing when your next breath is coming. And that's how I felt. It was purely psychological. I did not stop the dive. I forced myself to breathe. It took me 3 descents and ascents to the surface before I got completely comfortable. That meant I changed masks and I forced myself to calm down. The problem with that is the weight bags were miscolored. Thought I had put 10 pounds. I use a 5 and 5 typically. I have used as low as 6, but somewhere between 6 and 10 total. Equal weighted, right, on your vest, on your BCD. I had 16 pounds. Way too overweighted. And then, when it comes to buoyancy, you know, or if you don't know, you raise when you breathe in, you lower when you breathe out. Well, when Michael was, you don't hold your breath, but by God, I was sucking every bit of air in that inhale that I could, which means I would either be on the bottom or I would be on the top. There was not a comfortable in between. Now, we surfaced, our dive master pulled my weight, got it to 10 properly, got back down, and the second half of the dive was much better. But I was still inhaling like that. So I was still raising much quicker than I should have been. So I was stressed. I was stressed. So we're trying to fix that today. Dive Master said we will tune that regulator because you should not be putting any effort in to breathe. And I'd never had to focus on my breathing before in any of my other dives, but I did yesterday, and it took the enjoyment away from me. So hoping today is much, much different. That's yeah, that's the quick story there. All right, finishing up here, rolling over on 8, almost back to the house. I didn't want to bore you too long, but I do want to thank you. These sessions for me are very cathartic. They're very healing. It's like a therapy session. So if you've made it this far, thank you. I like to talk about things and share, maybe too much sometimes, but it is it's to put stuff out there for other folks that may not know. I would rather experience those things first and give you my opinion rather than the other way around. So thank you for joining me today. Sorry it was just a neighborhood run, and the morning didn't start out as planned, but we finished it and you were there with me. So I hope you enjoy your Saturday. I'm gonna switch over to the daily vlog. We're gonna enjoy our Saturday, and I will see you again very soon.